PayPal, PayPal, PayPal. What a special type of rug that was. Oh boy, a lot to get into in this video here today. We're going to go through the numbers, and you know, if you join me for a video, oh baby, do we go through the numbers, and then we go deep, and we're going to go deep in this one, okay? We're going to speak about the conference call. We're going to talk about if that was a good conference call, bad conference call, those sorts of things. We're going to speak about where does the stock go from here, in my personal opinion. Are we talking we're going down to 50? Are we going to 45? Or are we going to 57? Where are we going here, okay? We're going to speak about if I'll be buying in the next 48 hours and kind of my expectations, and then we're also going to speak about what if I'm wrong on PayPal as well. So we'll speak about all that. By the way, let me just say this as a side note. I was kind of secretly hoping PayPal went down, and the reason being is things have been going so well for me for so long now that I need something to break here. You know, the hater audience, like I've been kind of losing that audience up here recently because like it gets boring if you don't like me and like every day I'm making money, all this money. It's like you lose interest. So now at least I got something here. Okay, oh, PayPal went down. Okay, so I always appreciate that. Now before we get into that real quick, I know a lot of people wanted my opinion on Wynn's earnings because they were the first stock I featured on 6 Stocks I'm Buying February edition, and they reported an A-plus quarter here. The revenues were off the charts, $1.8 billion versus $1 billion in the same quarter last year. Operating income's up to $357 million from $99 million. Income before income taxes up to $274 million from a $27 million loss in the same quarter last year. And yeah, you know, everything across the board phenomenal for Wynn. Wynn should climb to 200 now as long as we don't have a big recession in the next 24 months. If we have a big recession, obviously that totally screws up a stock like Wynn. But if the economy is just decent or even good for the next 24 months, this baby should climb to 200. That one's looking really, really good at this point in time. Okay, appreciate y'all joining me as always. Very in-depth video here. All I ask in return is that you smash a like, make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you're looking to join my Patreon, I will be making major moves in my Patreon portfolio in the next 48 hours. There will be pinned comment to see the moves I'm making each and every week in there. And like I said, I got major moves coming in the next 48 hours, okay? Alrighty, guys, let's start going through this, okay? So, first off, income statement-wise, it was a grade A income statement. Net revenues went to over $8 billion from 7.3, almost 7.4 billion the same quarter last year. Transaction expense, transaction and credit losses, they kept all those numbers in check. Customer support and operations, they actually brought that number down significantly year over year. Sales and marketing brought that number down. Technology and development, they were able to bring that down some. General administrative was one of the trouble spots that went up year over year. Total operating expenses went to about $6.3 billion from 6.1 billion the previous, previous years, the same quarter. But look at how much revenue went up. I mean, we're talking about, a $600 million plus, almost a $650 million difference in revenue. But, we can call it $150 million difference maybe in expenses there. So ultimately, their operating income blew to the moon, $1.7 billion versus $1.2 billion in the same quarter last year. Net income went to $1.4 billion from $921 million in the same quarter last year. And EPS on a diluted basis, $1.29 for this latest quarter versus 81 cents at this same point last year. So that's a grade A income statement. There's, it's almost as good as it gets. There's another level, like a Wynn Resorts was an A+, right? Meta was an A+, but this is pretty dang good across the board there. If we look at the numbers this way, right? Total payment volume, TPV, which is one of the most important metrics people look at when it comes to PayPal stock, that was up 15% year over year. They did over $400 billion in total payment volume in a 3-month span here. That's very impressive, right? In the same quarter last year, they did $357 billion in total payment volume. So definitely very good to see as far as total payment volume just continues to grow. And the company very shortly here should be at a multi-trillion-dollar run rate when it comes to total payment volume per year. Multi-trillion. It should be probably in the next 2 years, I would say. It will be at multi-trillion-dollar TPV. So very impressive. Net revenue, 9% growth year over year there. Operating income was up 39% for the company. Net income was up 52% for the company. EPS was up 61% for the company. These numbers are obviously extraordinary there. If we look at the balance sheet, cash and cash equivalents went to over $9 billion. Short-term investments was around $5 billion. Long-term debt was down for the company, down to $9.6 billion from about $10.4 billion in the same quarter last year. Total equity for the company is up to over $21 billion in total equity from $20.2 billion in total equity in this same quarter last year. Now, CEO observations. I like this here. PayPal has a strong position to build upon, strong franchises, brand trust, employee culture, engage global two-sided network at scale, 100%. Accelerate this is what they want to do, priorities for driving focused execution in 2024. Accelerate our branded checkout business. Improve overall profitability, including higher growth PSP services, unlock the power of data to create more value for our customers while tapping into new sources of revenue and margin, operate more efficiently. Now, there's something very important I heard on the conference call that they kept coming back to, something very important, I think, okay? And that was Alex, Chris, and the management team, they mentioned several times small and mid-sized businesses, right? And if we think about Intuit, which is where Alex Chris is from, right? One of the greatest companies in stocks over the past, 15 years or so. And that's where, Alex Chris was extremely important to that team over there. Where does Intuit thrive? It thrives in small and mid-sized businesses with obviously not just their tax-related products, but QuickBooks specifically, okay? And so it's very clear to me that PayPal's future is not just, people transferring money between themselves, but really, and not just the large corporations in terms of what they're doing with Braintree side of the business, right? But also small and mid-sized businesses. And so, if you know my belief on the economy and the world, like the world's run by small and mid-sized businesses, right? Taking action. New world-class team hired new CFO, Chief Financial Officer, President of Global Markets, Head of SMB and Consumer, Small and Mid-Sized Business, and Chief People Officer, Organized Business Units around our customers, reinvesting cost savings into product engineering and marketing, will include stock-based compensation in non-GAAP results beginning with our Q1 2024 earnings report. Now, I thought this was big. Now, this can hurt the non-GAAP numbers in the short term if you're going to include stock-based compensation, SBC, in there, right? No doubt about that. But I look at that, I say, okay, so that hurts the numbers short term. At the end of the day, I think this is amazing. This is great. This is like full transparency to me. As a long-term shareholder, I want to be invested in companies and management teams that are fully transparent with me, and I can say, I like everything. They're not trying to hide something here like a lot of companies do, or even the old PayPal in terms of hiding SBC. It also makes management team have to pay attention to SBC a lot more. And why should you as an investor care about SBC? Well, if they continue to dilute shareholder value like crazy, right, you're not getting nearly as much of those earnings as you think you're getting because more and more shares are going on the market all the time, right? If anything, you want to be in a situation where there's less and less shares over time while the company's net income is going up, because that means your earnings per share is going to shoot to the moon, okay? So that's a very important point I just made there, and so I love this overall. Now, so far, this is a situation where, this is the way I'll put it to you. I got to put a mental picture in everybody's head of what's going on here, okay? Imagine you got this beautiful cruise ship, this unbelievable cruise ship, and it's a great cruise ship. But the problem is it's just kind of floating around in the water, and it needs to get into gear, and they need to point it in the right direction. It's just kind of sitting around floundering a little bit. So Alex Chris, the new captain, and the new team come over, and they take control of this beautiful ship, which PayPal is an absolutely beautiful ship. Between the PayPal service, Venmo, and Braintree, this is an incredible opportunity. This is top tier, right? And so he's coming in to get this ship pointed back in the right direction and get this ship moving. Because no one's really happy with the state of movement. It's man, we're taking forever to get anywhere in this dang beautiful ship, okay? That's what he's coming in to do. He's not coming in to get on the Titanic. He's not coming into a broken ship. He's coming into a beautiful ship. It's just not quite moving the way it should be moving. And he's coming in as being the captain to move this ship in the right direction. I love these two things right here. Love these two things. They talk about principles of value creation. Start with the customer. Beautiful. I love this. Focus on profitable growth. That's what I care about a company like PayPal. Anything that is in the finance-related game, the banking-related game, fintech, focus on profitable growth. That's what I care about. I don't just want growth for growth's sake. I don't want you to just put up some vanity metric of we have this many users. I don't care about that. We're not in that market anymore. This is a market about money. This is a market about profits. It's a market about EPS now. This is a market about cash flow now, okay? Focus on profitable growth. I love it. drive operating leverage over time, set measurable goals, and communicate consistently. That's another check mark I have there because I love that. Set measurable goals, not just something like some pie in the sky, you got to set measurable goals, hit those measurable goals, beat those measurable goals, and then communicate that, right? I love that. This is all the stuff that as a long-term investor you eat up. You love this freaking stuff. This is everything as a long-term investor. If you're short-term, you don't care about measurable goals. You care about the stock going up or down tomorrow. That's all you care about. For a long-term investor, this is the type of stuff we care about because this is what it's going to dictate the gains in the stock over the coming 3 or 5 years. Maintain strong balance sheet and return excess cash. I love it. How do they return excess cash? Well, long-term, they could consider a dividend, but in the short term, it's share buybacks, and we'll speak about that in just a moment, okay? Now, if we look at the numbers here, something brilliant's going on, something I love, okay? This shows you full year numbers versus what just happened in the latest quarter. So, some very interesting things are going on here, okay? Total payment volume for the company is accelerating. Growth is accelerating, not decelerating, accelerating. Because look at full year, they were at 13% growth in TPV. Then they went up to 15% year over year here. So that's an acceleration that is like really, really good news, okay? Revenue for the full year was at 8%, but this most recent quarter they did 9%. So another acceleration in growth rates. Great news. Transaction margin is getting better for the company. If you look at the most recent quarter versus overall year was down 1% versus a flat. That's moving in the right direction, right? Non-GAAP operating margin went from 22.4% to now 23.3%. Almost 100 basis points in improvement there. This is like huge, guys. This is absolutely massive. The fact that you can see all this acceleration in growth is a very promising sign for the company. Focus on driving profitable growth. Check this out here, okay? So this is kind of when the business bottomed, in my personal opinion. This was in Q2 2023, and a couple quarters ago, basically, and growth kind of bottomed there at the 8 and 7% range, and now they're up to about 9%. So I like that. That's really good there, okay? Also, we bottomed in Q2 2023 in terms of non-GAAP operating income and margin percent, right? 21.4% we got down to, now we're back up to 23.3%. I look for that number to be, 24 plus at this time next year, okay? And if we look at non-GAAP operating income, 1.5 billion, now they're up to nearly 1.9 billion. Headed in the right direction. The ship is moving, and we're moving in the right direction, okay? Good news. Transaction margin, look at this. Last quarter was negative 3%. Now they got it to flat. Okay, so where do we go next? Up 1, up 2? That's a big step in the right direction in terms of transaction margin. That matters significantly. Non-GAAP EPS for the company. In this same quarter last year, it was 11%. Now they're up to 19% non-GAAP EPS growth. Also, very impressive, okay? These things matter significantly if you care about the long-term future of PayPal. Check this out here. Account growth, right? 2% down year over year, right? Now, as I've told you guys a million times, PayPal could easily put up a vanity number there, right? You just set up some incentives, $5 if people use the app and, you share it with your friends and this and that. And you get a bunch of people using it that might not even ever use it again, but you could show a big vanity number to make your accounts look good, right? But that's not where PayPal's focus is. And that's honestly, I want people that actually use PayPal, Venmo, that want to use PayPal and Venmo. Not just people that got in because they got some, free offer or something like that or some, bonus. I want it to be people that actually use it. And so monthly active accounts actually just grew 1% year over year. Number of payment transactions grew 13% year over year. That's phenomenal. Transactions per active account, very important, up 14% year over year. So this means, what does this tell you? This tells you that the people that are using PayPal's products are using them a lot more and a lot more and a lot more to run a lot more transactions. And this is very good news. And even if I think about myself overall, I mean, the amount I use PayPal now is extensively more than it was, 5 years ago or 3 years ago. And the reason being is now PayPal has it so it integrates with almost any, as long as an e-commerce service of some kind has it where you can check out with PayPal, it makes it so easy because I can just click that, scans my face, puts in all my info, and boom, the transaction is done, right? I also have it set up for things like Uber Eats or Uber Rides or DoorDash or any of those sorts of services. And so it's just cake overall. And so it's just natural. I use it more and more and more because they make it that easy. And it's clear that Alex Chris, that's the way of the future, is making everything so seamless and easy that you just want to use it for more and more transactions. So this is big, folks. That's why I circled that so immensely there, right? Transactions per active account up 14%. That's great, okay? TPV mix across PayPal payment platform. I love this breakdown here because we see PayPal's branded checkout just doing pretty well. I mean, it was up 6% in the fiscal year, right? PSP, unbranded card processing, was up 30%. Venmo was up 9%, which is actually acceleration of growth year over year. P2P ex Venmo was weak for the company. That's a red spot there, right? Other merchant services up 7% year over year. And then eBay was a big weakness for PayPal specifically in obviously fiscal year 2023. It's really been a drag on the business the last couple of years. I don't believe eBay is really going to be a drag on PayPal in 2024 and beyond. But it has been a drag over the last couple of years. The biggest drag was obviously 22, but there's a big drag in 23 as well, 10%. So we know where the weakness really came from. P2P ex Venmo was some of the weakness, and then eBay was a big weakness at 10%, right? So we know, like that's where the issues are at, right? And everything else looks pretty darn appetizing there. Now, guidance. The key with guidance is, Alex Chris spoke to, I believe her name was Julia Borston at CNBC. And she says that he said, we're going with a conservative guidance. And if I recall, even on the conference call, thinking back now, Alex Chris even mentioned on the conference call at some point in time about conservative guidance. Conservative guidance. Conservative guidance. It's a very key term. And the reason that's a key term, it's basically a wink, wink about we're probably going to beat these numbers, but we're going to put them out there for now, okay? And if you're a new management team, guess what? You want to go with conservative guidance. Why? Well, let's say you set your numbers too high, and then you don't hit those numbers. Oh my gosh. You just got started on the worst foot possible. Because now you are known as a CEO and a management team that misses numbers. And then, PayPal already has so many trust issues with Wall Street in general. If then the new management team gets started off by missing a bunch of their numbers, it's a disaster. So you want to go in with conservative guidance and then come in and beat the numbers throughout the year, right? Like it's playing the game of Wall Street 101. Okay, if I had to be a CEO, guess what? I'd do the same dang thing. I'm coming in with my conservative numbers, and I'm going to come in, I'm going to beat those numbers every single quarter, and then you're going to love me for it, and everything's going to be grand. Their guidance, non-GAAP EPS, mid-single-digit growth they're talking about. So it could be 5%, 7%, 4%, we'll see. They'll beat it, likely, my opinion. Revenue growth, they're talking about 6.5%, maybe 7% on an FX-neutral basis. My guess is they come in and beat that. That is my guess. We'll see. In terms of fiscal year 2024, once again, conservative guidance, free cash flow of approximately $5 billion of free cash flow. And they're also talking about share repurchases of at least $5 billion. Now, if you are planning on being a long-term shareholder at PayPal for the next 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, guess what? You should love that this stock price is down in the short term. You should actually want PayPal stock to be down the full year. I don't believe it will be, but you should want that. Why? Well, the company just said they want to spend at least, the key word is at least, $5 billion on share repurchases in 2024. The entire market capitalization of PayPal as of tomorrow should be, I would guess, 50-something billion dollars. We'll see where the stock trades out, okay? So, in 2024, the company set up where they could buy an immense amount of shares back, right? Would you rather the company pay $98 for those shares or $58 for those shares? Well, they can buy a whole lot more shares back at 58 than 98, right? No different than you as a long-term shareholder. You can buy a lot more shares if the stock's a cheaper price than if it's a higher price, right? And this matters so significantly for the long-term value creation of PayPal. Because if they could take off, let's say, 10% of the float this year, or 10% of the total shares outstanding. Let's say they take 10% of the total shares outstanding. Well, their net income increases over the coming years. Oh my gosh, do you know what's going to happen to their EPS? Well, simultaneously, they just did a bunch of cost-cutting measures. Do you know what their EPS will be looking like in 2025? The numbers we're talking about right now are a joke compared to where their numbers will likely be in 2025. Given the fact that their net income will likely be considerably more, and they're going to take a ridiculous amount of shares off the market this year. It's just a question of how many. So, that's the moral of that story. Some people act like they can't have the stock be at $58 here in the short term. They're like flipping out. I'm like, dude, if you're a long-term investor, you should actually want it to be like $40 right now. Like, that would be the ideal situation, right? Especially if you're a buyer. Especially if you're long-term focused. The only people that should be rooting, I can understand there's some people that were playing calls on the stock, short-term calls, gambling around, doing stuff like that. I understand those people don't care about the long-term future, but if you're a long-term investor, which if you're this deep into the video, 20 minutes deep, you're probably a long-term investor, this matters, okay? Now the conference call, by the way, Twitch live stream, the most insane one we've ever done. We're at the peak, we got up to 2,382 viewers, which is an insane amount for a Twitch stock market live stream because it's almost like non-existent on that platform. So that was insanity. And we listened to the conference call in there. And by the way, thank you everybody that joined me for that record-breaking live stream. We might be a bit before we break that record again. And I will say this, okay? Conference call was good. I heard everything I wanted to hear. I didn't hear a CEO and a CFO that were trying to pump the stock and trying to, make everything sugarcoat. If anything, they tried to talk down the stock. If anything, they tried to talk about how much work they have ahead and how much they need to accomplish and how much the team needs to accomplish. And I loved it. I personally loved it. Once again, as a long-term investor. And I understand if somebody hopes his stock was at $70 tomorrow because they got call options, I understand. It wasn't the conference call from you. You would rather just have them pump. But for us long-term investors, which is probably most people watching this video right now, we don't care about that. We'd rather have a management team give it to us how it is. And, I'd much rather have them talk down the stock than try to pump the stock for short-term gains and then set up the stock for long-term failure. Now, I'll just be honest with you guys. It didn't matter. It didn't matter what Alex Chriss said on that conference call or the CFO. It didn't really matter what Alex Chriss did on Innovation Day. Wall Street wasn't interested in that. It was clear as day, right? Innovation Day was phenomenal. They showed off several different key things that they're going to be doing this year that are very realistic in their wheelhouse, and they showed off a couple other, harder things to accomplish that if they make those work, that's going to be huge. Didn't matter. What Alex Chriss said on the conference call didn't matter. Wall Street is kind of in a hatred phase of this stock in the short term here, okay? It is what it is. Now, to recap so far, okay, 15% total payment growth, or total payment volume growth year over year. That's an all-time high. 9% revenue growth, which is a new all-time high in terms of revenue that came through in this latest quarter. 60% over 60% net income was up year over year. All their innovations going to be hitting this year, right, and rolled out over the next several months. Costs are coming down now with their newest layoff, that 9% layoff there. The valuation's dirt cheap on this stock. It's a dirt valuation, right? It's basically trading now at this point in time like a non-growth bank would be. That's how bad it's gone for PayPal now at this point in time, right? They did a conservative guide, and Alex Chriss told us that, right? The new CEO and CFO, I would say they sound laser focused overall, and they're going to be more transparent than ever before. And once again, none of that matters. None of that matters. And so when I look at something like this, I think of a great quote by Warren Buffett. A great quote by Warren Buffett. He says, the stock market is a device for transferring money from the inpatient to the patient. And that's all I think about in regards to a stock like PayPal here. I don't see a broken company at all. just based upon the numbers. Look at those numbers they just reported. I see a company that's in a phenomenal position, that's in a very strong position, that wants to get in a stronger position and move faster than they've ever moved. And so, and it's trading once again at a dirt valuation. So this is what I feel personally. This quote right here, this is PayPal to me. There's a lot of stocks that I'd be like, oh man, their numbers are so bad. Oh my gosh, this is so bad. This is so bad. This is not PayPal. PayPal's a great company putting up good numbers that should be putting up even better numbers in the future, and is trading at a dirt valuation. The stock market is a device from transferring money from the inpatient to the patient. That's how I feel. We'll see. I might look really smart for buying shares in the 50s and 60s a year from now, 2 years from now, or maybe I won't, right? We'll speak about that in a minute. No, if you guys got to see my video, I think it was yesterday I put out, I told you I was worried, right? I said I felt good about the numbers, I felt good about the conference call. Sure enough, conference call was good, the numbers were very good, right? There was no issue there. But I told you I felt worried about the setup for the stock. And I said there's a lot of retail that's long, and I felt like that's a trap. I go on X and I'm like, man, I feel like there's too many people bullish on PayPal here. Scares me a little bit, right? Needed more like negativity around the stock. Need more negativity, I guess you would say. It's like too much positivity and like hopeful that the stock was going to 70s after these earnings. So I said that made me feel uneasy. Also, a lot of short-term people kind of playing the stock that don't really care about PayPal's long-term future, only care about the short-term. That kind of freaked me out. And then I also told you about call options, right? A lot of people playing short-term call options on this one, gambling, thinking the stock was going to spike huge like Meta did. That scared me as well, because I feel like when everybody's trying to play it like that, the situation that everybody wants is not going to happen, right? So I told you I felt worried about the reaction of the stock. I never felt worried about the numbers of the conference call. And sure enough, I didn't need to feel worried about that. They came through. But this part, there was something strange that happened there, right? And that once it goes, it was up to nearly $70 and then just spiked down massively, right? Where does the stock go from here? Then we'll get into, will I be buying or selling in the next 48 hours? And what if I'm wrong on PayPal? We'll get into all that, okay? So, my opinion kind of on PayPal's stock price here is I wouldn't be surprised if we'll clear out the sellers in the morning. I think we're already cleared out a lot of the sellers in after hours trading, and there'll probably be some last ones, in my opinion, probably in that first hour of trading or so. Then the buyers will start stepping in. I'm not expecting some insanity sell-off here, some epic sell-off in PayPal. I would gladly welcome it, by the way, between how many shares I want to potentially add, and then the company can add, be buying back pretty aggressively, right? But I wouldn't be surprised if we hit the low in the first hour of trading tomorrow, and then the buyers step in and they keep stepping in and they keep stepping in. The stock just kind of stair steps into the close. That I wouldn't be surprised at all. I'd be shocked if the stock opened at a certain price and then it just kept going lower all day. I'd be shocked. I'd be shocked by that. I'd welcome it, but I'd be shocked by it, just to be honest. I think it'll be a pretty fast clear out here in regards to that one, right? The short-term people will kind of feel like, oh, there's nothing to be made here short-term. They'll get out, and then that will kind of be that, right? Stop losses will be hit very early in the morning trade, that first hour, and, it will be what it's going to be. And then I think buyers will start to step in. Because I can tell you, I wasn't the only one that was impressed by that conference call. I tell you there's going to be a lot of big money, long-term people that heard that conference call, that looked at those numbers, that will be stepping in to buy every share in sight tomorrow. Big money. Okay? Now, I think, some people out there are saying PayPal is going to be dead money in the next 6 months. I definitely saw a lot of that out there. It's going to be dead money in the next 6 months, not going anywhere. These sorts of things people are talking about, right? Be careful. Be careful assuming PayPal's dead money. That's exactly the moment, right when you think, this stock's not going anywhere for the next 6 months. That's the time it absolutely rips, like it's nobody's business, right? And maybe what happened initially after hours, maybe that was the truth. Maybe that was the truth, and this is the fake out. This is a fake out, shake out here, into the after hours, into the first hour of trading tomorrow. We'll see. But I just wouldn't bank on this one being dead money for the next 6 months, because I think we've already gotten rid of a lot of the big sellers. I think now it's just the short-term sellers we got to get rid of. And then I think, trust me, that conference call was very impressive. To somebody that's been in the market a long time, that's got a lot of money, you're going to be very impressed by that conference call and by the numbers PayPal just put up, especially trading as a valuation. So I would not make a bet that PayPal's dead money in the next 6 months. It could be. I just wouldn't bank on that. And remember, it's not just going to be people like myself and other people that have been in the market a long time that are going to be picking up this stock. It's going to be the company as well. They just said they're going to do at least a $5 billion buyback. At least $5 billion in 2024. So that means there's going to be an epic buyer of insane proportions for this stock for the next, we can call it 10 months, okay? Think about it for a moment. Just think about it. If you're banking that PayPal's dead for the next 6 months, we'll see about that. Next up here, will he be buying or selling in the next 48 hours? And we'll get into what if I'm wrong on PayPal, okay? I think it's an important subject. So I have no choice but to buy this stock. I can't sit on my hands on a stock that just reported 15% total payment volume growth. They reported 9% revenue growth. They reported net income up like, oh my gosh, in EPS that was up like 60% year over year. I can't just sit on my hands on that sort of situation, right? 39% operating income up year over year. A conservative guide. Once again, they said, okay, non-GAAP 510. And somebody's like, oh, I hope it's not 510. That's a bad number. Is it a bad number? The stock's trading at $50-something. If they did 510 at a $58 stock, that's great. That's phenomenal. That's like top tier. All right? But that was a conservative guide. So if they come in above that, I mean, oh my gosh, we're off to the races here, right? So I have no choice but to step in and buy this stock. I have no flipping flapjacking choice. I'm going to have to come in and be a buyer of this one. And here's kind of the other way of thinking about it, right? If I look at my Mag 6, my big 6 positions in the public account, right? The big dogs that really control that portfolio. Meta, I'm up $631,000 on. Tesla, I'm up $272,000 on. Amazon, I'm up $66,000 on. Elf, I'm up $157,000 on. And Palantir, I'm up $81,000 on. PayPal, I'm down $4,000 and should be down more in the morning, right? It's the one that hasn't worked yet, right? But these other ones have had time. Amazon, big buy in 22. Meta, big buy in 22, right? Tesla was more of like a 2019 buy. Elf was more of a 2019 buy, right? And Palantir was more of a 2022. PayPal just hasn't had time yet. PayPal was a big 2023 buy, right? Especially in the second half of the year. So with PayPal, we got the time. It's gonna play out. The other ones have had time to work. They had time to get their gains. PayPal is going to get its gains. Now, what if I'm wrong? What if I'm wrong on PayPal? There's a potential. I could be wrong on PayPal, right? So, something I've considered as well. What if I am wrong? What if Wall Street's got it right here and I'm going to be wrong on this one and I won't be right like I was right on Meta or Tesla or Amazon or Elf or Palantir, right? What if I'm wrong? It's potential. But the thing I'll say about PayPal, there's so much limited downside here. The only thing I would really lose, in my personal opinion, is opportunity cost in PayPal, where it's like, oh, I could have had that money in a better position. I don't think this is certainly no go to zero situation. I don't even think this is a go to $30 situation. It's more like it just gets stuck at 60 for the next 2-3 years. And I'm looking back and I'm like, dang, man, I could have put that money somewhere else better. That's the worst case scenario, really, in my personal opinion, when it comes to PayPal, okay? Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I appreciate you joining me as always. Pin comment down there to join my Patreon if you want to support my content, plus be able to see the moves I'm making, plus get access to the Discord chat in there. And also, when you hit 5 figures plus in the market, we get to send you the award in the mail, okay? Alrighty, guys, much love as always, and have a great day.